When President Donald Trump took the stage last week alongside Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and celebrity Dr. Mehmet Oz, few expected the press conference to dominate headlines the way it did. The subject wasn't foreign policy, the economy, or even the election. It was autism and specifically claims that one of the most common pain relievers in the world, Tylenol, may be linked to the condition for years. Scientists, parents, and policymakers have debated what causes autism spectrum disorder as a complex neurodevelopmental condition that affects communication, behavior, and social interaction. Genetics, environment, and prenatal influences are all in the mix. But Trump's decision to put acetaminophen, the active ingredient in Tylenol, in the spotlight has taken a simmering scientific discussion and thrust it into the center of U.S. politics. Trump's bold claim at the conference. Trump declared that life is common sense, arguing that using acetaminophen during pregnancy clearly contributes to higher autism rates in children. He cited studies that suggested a correlation between prenatal Tylenol use and later neurodevelopmental disorders. "We're not here to scare mothers," Trump said. Flanked by Kennedy Jr. and Dr. Oz, "We're here to tell the truth that the medical establishment has been hiding." The administration announced that the FDA would soon recommend that pregnant women avoid acetaminophen unless absolutely necessary, particularly for high fevers where alternatives may be more harmful. This marks a dramatic shift from long-standing medical guidance, which considered acetaminophen one of the safest pain relievers for pregnant women. But Trump didn't stop there. In familiar fashion, he also revived his skepticism about childhood vaccines, hinting that vaccine schedules may need reconsideration to protect children from developmental harm. The comments immediately drew applause from some parents but sparked fierce backlash from scientists who warn that such rhetoric risks undermining public health. Why Tylenol? Acetaminophen is nearly ubiquitous. It's found not only in Tylenol, but in hundreds of over-the-counter and prescription medicines. According to CDC data, more than 60% of pregnant women in the U.S. report using acetaminophen at some point during pregnancy. A handful of observational studies over the past decade have suggested a possible association between prenatal acetaminophen exposure and higher rates of ADHD, autism, or language delays. These studies, many conducted in Europe and the U.S., relied on parental surveys, prescription records, or cord blood samples. Yet critics note a crucial point: correlation does not equal causation. Pregnant women may take acetaminophen when fighting fevers, infections, or pain conditions that themselves could influence fetal development. In other words, the medicine may be a marker, not the cause. Large registry studies, like a 2023 analysis in Sweden that tracked nearly 2.5 million births, found no clear increased risk of autism after adjusting for confounding factors. Obstetricians and pediatric associations continue to argue that acetaminophen, when used correctly, remains safer than untreated fever, which can itself cause complications for both mother and child. Experts pushed back. Medical experts quickly pushed back against Trump's announcement. The American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, ACOG, reiterated that acetaminophen remains a reasonable choice for pregnant patients dealing with pain or fever, stressing that evidence of harm is inconsistent. Pharmaceutical companies, including Tylenol's manufacturer Kenvue, blasted Trump's claim as unsupported by rigorous science. Public health scholars warn that discouraging acetaminophen without strong alternatives could leave pregnant women vulnerable to untreated illnesses, which pose their own risks to fetal development. Dr. Catherine Wu, a pediatric neurologist at Johns Hopkins, explained it bluntly: "This is a classic case of cherry-picking studies. There is no gold standard evidence proving acetaminophen causes autism. What we're seeing is a political agenda wrapped in a scientific controversy. Beyond Tylenol, the politics of autism for Trump, autism has long been a political flashpoint." During his first term, he suggested that vaccines might be linked to autism despite decades of research disproving any connection. His alliance with Robert F. Kennedy Jr., a prominent vaccine skeptic, underscores his continued interest in challenging mainstream science. This latest Tylenol controversy serves multiple purposes, rallying distrust of institutions by painting the FDA and pharmaceutical companies as complicit in hiding risks. Trump reinforces his populist narrative of fighting for everyday families against elites. Reigniting culture wars, autism is deeply personal for millions of American families. Tapping into their fears about causes, treatments, and prevention keeps the debate charged with emotion. Shaping health policy, the administration isn't just talking. It's moving toward label changes, prescribing guidelines, and even new treatments. The leucovorin twist one of the most surprising developments was Trump's promotion of leucovorin, a drug traditionally used in chemotherapy support. His administration highlighted it as a potential treatment for certain autism-related symptoms, particularly in cases linked to cerebral folate deficiency. Just days before the announcement, the FDA approved leucovorin for expanded use, a timing that raised eyebrows. Critics worrying the administration is pushing an unproven cure without sufficient clinical trials, while supporters see it as a long overdue step toward offering families more treatment options, risks, and consequences. Tylenol autism debate has far-reaching consequences. For pregnant women, many may now second-guess using acetaminophen, even when medically necessary. Some may turn to alternatives like ibuprofen, which carries known risks during pregnancy. For public health, by reigniting vaccine autism claims, Trump risks fueling vaccine hesitancy at a time when confidence in childhood immunizations is already fragile. For science communication, the controversy highlights how political figures can elevate certain studies while ignoring broader consensus, shaping public opinion faster than researchers can respond. For the pharmaceutical industry, companies like Kenvue face not only reputational damage, but potential lawsuits. As families may interpret Trump's claims as validation of their suspicions, what comes next? The FDA is expected to issue new guidance in the coming weeks, recommending stricter limits on acetaminophen use during pregnancy. Congressional hearings are also rumored, with Democrats likely to challenge the administration's reliance on disputed evidence. Meanwhile, researchers say more randomized controlled trials are urgently needed, though ethical concerns make it nearly impossible to randomly assign pregnant women to take or avoid acetaminophen. Observational data may remain the primary source, leaving the debate unresolved. For families living with autism, the political firestorm is bittersweet. On one hand, greater attention may bring more funding for research and treatment. On the other, false promises and fear-driven policies risk deepening confusion at a time when support and clarity are needed most. Trump's Tylenol announcement is more than a medical advisory, it's a political earthquake. By targeting a household drug, questioning scientific consensus, and proposing controversial treatments, he has reignited a debate that touches millions of lives. The science is unsettled, but the politics are clear. Autism has become a battlefield where health, trust, and power collide. As the FDA moves forward and families weigh their choices, one thing is certain: the conversation around autism, Tylenol, and Trump will only grow louder in the months ahead.